Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Pokémon Origins. Today we're looking at Budew, Roselia and Roserade, and later on we'll be joined by a special guest, EmulatedHero, to look at Roserade. But for now let's get started. So first up we have Budew, or its Japanese name being Tsubomi. It is the Bud Pokémon and number 406 in the National Dex. It stands at 0.2 meters or 8 inches tall, and weighs 1.2 kilograms or 2.6 pounds. In regard to typing, Budew is a grass poison type. Budew is a bipedal rosebud-like Pokemon and has a yellow face with small slit-like eyes. It appears to be wearing a green bib and has triangular, stubby yellow feet. When the two vines that are on top of its head open up, a big spot can be seen on each. On one vine is a blue spot, on the other is a red spot. Simply put, Budew is based on a rosebud. There are no gender differences between Budew, and Shiny Budew have a purple bib-like feature and also a lighter vine tip and general body. Pokédex entries tell us that Budew like to live alongside clean ponds, and also that they are sensitive to changing temperature and that the bud blooms when it feels the warm touch of sunlight. The Japanese name Tsubomi is a corruption of Tsubomi, which means flower bud. Budew, on the other hand, is a combination of bud and dew. Now if we look at its sprites, after being introduced in Generation 4, we can see in Diamond and Pearl it has a very simple standing up sprite, not doing much at all, and then in Platinum, Heart Gold and Soul Silver, it simply kind of sits down and seems more like a baby, which it is a baby Pokemon. The back sprite, however, you can see almost all of Budew's body, which is unusual for these generations, and you can also see the front of its bib and a bit of its face as well. Going into Generation 5, its sprite now looks very similar to the Diamond and Pearl sprite, however with a few alterations. Its eyes are sort of moved around and its mouth is not pink, it's simply a smile. The back sprite, as you would expect, is the entire of Budew's body, even able to see its two small feet at the bottom. Finally now, if you look at Budew's size, at only 0.2 meters or 8 inches, it's a tiny Pokemon. You wouldn't even see it probably, but it is, the size of a bud in real life pretty much. Now if we move on to Roselia, its Japanese name is the same as its English name, and it is the Fawn Pokemon. Roselia is also number 315 in the National Dex, being introduced a generation earlier than Budew and Roserade. It stands at 0.3 meters or 1 foot tall, and weighs 2 kilograms or 4.4 pounds. Like Budew, it is a grass poison type, and is the only Pokemon to receive both a pre-evolution and an evolution in the same generation. Bear in mind, other Pokemon have received both, for example Electabuzz and Magmar, but not in the same generation. A Budew will evolve into a Roselia when leveled up with high friendship during the day. Now Roselia is a small, light green bipedal Pokemon, and it has 3 thorns on top of its head, with black eyes with long eyelashes. Visible from the back is a small stretch of yellow coloration around its neck, much like a collar. There are leaves extending from its shoulders like epaulettes, and it has a leaf skirt with a yellow stripe running down the front. It holds a rose in each of its hands, a red one in its right and a blue one in its left. However, it is said that occasionally it will have an unusually coloured flower, a reference to its shiny form. Put simply, Roselia is based on a rose bush. Now there are actually some gender differences between Roselia, as males will have shorter skirts than the females. And Shiny Roselia will have a lighter coloured body and purple and black flowers instead of the usual red and blue. Pokédex entries tell us that Roselia actually have thorns inside the roses on their hands to attack with, and that the stronger the aroma they give off, the healthier the Roselia. Then if we look at the name Roselia, it's a combination of rose and azalea or budalia, which are both sort of flowering plant-like words. Then if we look at the sprites for the generations, as I've mentioned already, it was introduced in Generation 3, in Ruby, Sapphire and Emerald, and you can see in the whole of Generation 3 it's got the same stance. Emerald, it kind of just goes up a bit, pulls its roses together, but it's simply just a simple stance, just stood there. The back sprite there is what you would expect for a back sprite. You can see its back, and you can see the skirt doesn't actually extend down the back. Then in Generation 4, it gains a more of a regal pose, I guess you could say, in Diamond and Pearl, holding the red rose up to the camera and the blue one back a bit as it sort of walks around, struts around and stuff. In the Platinum, Heart Gold and Soul Silver, it gains It's very similar to its first sprite, however the roses are slightly moved down and its face looks a little different to what it was. The back sprite there, you can actually see less of Roselia than you could in Generation 3 back sprite, simply seeing its back and pretty much 3/4 of its roses, the bits being just cut off at the bottom. Then in Generation 5, finally, we can see that it returns to, well, pretty much the first pose it used, but it's slight changes obviously on the face, and some of the roses have been changed as well. And in the back sprite, you can see the whole back, so it's very similar to the Generation 3 back sprite. Finally, we're looking at size. Standing at only 0.3 meters or 1 foot, you can see it's not a whole lot taller than Budew, still pretty damn small, about the size of a normal rose, I guess. So let's move on to the final Pokemon for today's episode, Roserade, for which EmulatedHero is going to cover.
So now, we will look at Roserade. It is the bouquet Pokemon and number 407 in the National Dex. It stands at 0.9 meters or 2 feet 11 inches tall, and weighs 14.5 kilograms or 32 pounds. Roserade is a grass poison type and has the highest special attack stat of all grass type Pokemon, for which it is tied with Exeggutor. A Roselia will evolve into Roserade when a shiny stone is used on it. Roserade is a bipedal Pokemon with an appearance that incorporates features of roses and the decorative dress of a masquerade. It has hair made of white rose petals and a leafy green cape with a yellow, collar-like bangle on its neck. The cape pattern reaches towards the back of its head and has spiky, sepal-like extensions on the hair. It has a dark green mask over its red, yellow-lidded eyes. The lower portion of its face is light green and holds a bouquet in each hand. It has a red bouquet in its right hand and a blue in its left. Its limbs and underside are light green and its feet ends with yellow tips. Roserade appears to be based on a combination of a bouquet of roses and a mystery patron of a masquerade ball, in which masks would be worn to hide the identity of the participants. Its mask, cape, and mention of its movements of a dancer in its Pokédex entry seems to confirm this. Female Roserades have a longer cape than male Roserades, and a shiny Roserade has a more swampish green color with pink and black bouquets. And from the Pokédex entries, we can learn that it attracts prey using a sweet aroma, then jabs it with a near-fatal poison. The name Roserade is a combination of rose and masquerade, a reference to its wearing of a mask-like feature. Now, if we take a look at each of Roserade's sprites throughout the years, first we can see that in Diamond and Pearl it has a very simple stance with its arms pointed up and down. Then in Platinum, Heart Gold, and Soul Silver, it lowers one of its arms and brings the other to sniff at its scent. In the Generation 4 back sprite, we can see the majority of its back, as well as the head and bouquets. Moving on to Generation 5, Roserade returns to its original sprite from Diamond and Pearl, moving its bouquets left and right every now and again. For the back sprite, we can see its entire body as would be expected. Finally, looking at Roserade's size, we can see that at 0.9 meters or 2 feet 11 inches, it is actually a fairly small Pokemon, at least for a final stage. But compared to Roselia, which it is 3 times larger than, it is pretty big.
So, thank you EmulatedHero for covering Roserade there. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing someone else. Please leave a like and a comment on this video and subscribe if you haven't already, and you can also go and check out EmulatedHero's channel, which will be linked in the description below. Thank you for watching guys, see you next time, bye!